Ladies and gentlemen, joining us this morning, shout to Life Camp, the Peace Mobiles and the whole teams all over, the teams that go out into these communities and engage the youth before, are proactive in engaging the youth before there's problems. And even there, when the problems occur, we have one of the greats of our city who've been doing this work for a long time. She's been on the front lines. Erica Ford is joining us. Coming off Peace Week last week, unfortunately, it wasn't too peaceful, right, Erica Ford?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was the craziest week ever. Little baby being shot, and then the officers being shot. And I think it was like 5 officers shot that week. It just wasn't too peaceful, as you said. And I think it goes back to what you're saying, that violence is a disease. And just like as we look at COVID and the whole move to contain the disease and help people cure, help people not infect other people, you can go to the school system, you can go to the communities in which we live in and see the lack of resources that these young people get that doesn't allow them to really make the correct decisions and heal from the trauma of the violence that has plagued our community for so many years. And so, there's not Peace Mobile just came in, 2-3 years ago,
right?
As a methodology to help these young people heal.
Well, and cure violence. Cure violence is, and what you guys are doing in the communities, I mean, really only started 24 months ago, where you guys started actually getting resources from the city and full support.
So we started in 2012 with the New York City Crisis Management System.
Right, okay, 2012.
And we were able to, from 2012 when we started, we were able to, in 5 years, make New York City the safest big city in America. We were able to, for example, in my catchment area, go 4 years with nobody being killed, go 562 days with nobody being shot. And the same thing in Man Up area in Brooklyn, same type of results. In Harlem and so on and so forth, same type of results. Because we were investing in something new and investing right directly with those young people who had the highest risk to be shot or to shoot somebody. But you have to continue to invest. You have to continue to build and strengthen the system in order for it to continue to work. And so now with the new mayor and the new chancellor, we should get different results as to the growth and development of the strategy of the New York City Crisis Management System.
What challenges did the new wrinkle in life present, which is the pandemic, right? Because this is obviously a new wrinkle and a new situation and a new level of stress and anxiety on people in general.
Yeah.
So if you live in poverty or you live in an area that already has a lot of trauma and anxiety anyway, I'm sure. What are you guys seeing on the ground is with the level of frustration with youth and resources?
Just like the call the other night, it was an increase in domestic violence calls because people, were locked in the house together without the resources, without the ability to seek help or to get, what they need to resolve the conflicts. People weren't made to really stay in the house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with each other. People just aren't made. We are habitual people. We go out and we engage and and so now you're locked together and it's just the frustrations, the anger, the trauma begets more trauma because there's no methodology of healing coming in. And so a lot of the folks in our community didn't have access to backyards to go run and play, didn't have access to quality food so that you can eat a healthy diet, and deal with, and some people didn't even have access to Wi-Fi, right? And so they weren't able to get the education. Parents were frustrated. And then we couldn't get to the young people in the manner in which we used to. We still can't get to them in the manner in which we used to, right? And the buildings weren't open to run programs. And so all of this on top of the loss of life, right? Because remember, in our communities, we were the epicenters of the epicenters, right? And so with the loss of the patriarch and the matriarch of your family, that also brought trauma. You weren't able to grieve with other family members. All of this stuff never got dealt with. And those are real tragic pains that people had faced upon them And, we can't just erase it like it didn't happen. And then one thing that increased during the pandemic was the sale of guns, right? And so where did those guns go? We saw where they ended up in our community across America, in the hands of young people who don't know that not to, as you said earlier, use a gun in the first place as a methodology to resolve your pain, your trauma, your interpersonal conflict with somebody else that you really don't even have a conflict with.
And the foresight, young people, unfortunately, too many don't have the ability to understand or see beyond the trauma that's right in front of them, right? Like they'll just make an emotional decision, knee-jerk reaction, an emotional decision without even thinking it through to try to get, respect on the block, or, somebody disrespected me in the comments on social media. And I think I think my response should be a gun and go confront somebody with that. So, Erica Ford, how what are the next steps here? I hear what the mayor's saying. Obviously, they're going to be clamping down. They're working with the state police to try to stop the flow of guns into the city. What are some of the next steps that your programs and the people that you work with are employing to get back out in the community and try to slow down the noise, or bring down the noise?
I want to say you and I met, I would say, like probably 30 years ago around this same question, right?
Yeah.
And we talked about the culture, right? And back then it was a rise in the music that gave, guns and everything was, and I was very like just yelling and screaming, we got to do, And I think we got to go back to that conversation of the culture, right? We got the drill music took us to a place of demonic being with these young people and what they feel is culture, right? And so they just became demonic, right? And so how do we come together, those artists and community and save our kids? Do it for the streets, do it for the block. Like people always talk about, I represent the block. I'm doing it for my peoples. I'm holding us down, and but holding us down is giving young people life. It's breathing life into them. And so
and uplifting
how
people.
Because this drill music is taking young people, and they're like, some people say it's just music, it's just culture. But the young people, the 11 and 12-year-olds that's embodying this culture doesn't have the mental stability to differentiate between, I'm just, rapping and whatever. No, they're trying to live it as life. Right? And so we see 11 and 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds involved in the violence epidemic that they don't even have a chance to really even be children and enjoy life. And so how do we come together and create a different kind of culture for our young people to want to be part of, and it's safe to be part of? And I think that we need to bring the hip-hop community together to raise our voices, to lift life up to these young people. And so we will be engaging in a marketing campaign and asking people to help us. But we will be putting more people on the street, and hopefully they start opening buildings, and allowing us to really have strong access to these young folks. But we need buildings open. There's community centers, there's schools that close at 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock. We need buildings open later.
Yeah, we got to stay in their face. We got to stay active with, and we also got to do, one of the things that, we try to do with our show is reward, people who are trying to be positive, right? Yes, and uplift those who are trying to be positive and doing things.
Yes.
So yes, I think the more we can highlight kids and young people that are making music and being useful, I think hopefully that becomes, people see that. And it'll deter them from trying to use the music to do something negative. And damn it, and real talk, I mean, if we having real talk, I would love to see a day, because YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, right, the way they monetize these videos that are riddled with beef, right, where people And it's instant money for kids, right? Like you open up a YouTube channel, you start a beef on your YouTube channel, it gets 1 million views. That's money in that kid's pocket.
Yeah.
And so they're being rewarded monetarily for having friction.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
and
saying?
Those beats, they impact a lot of lives. They don't understand. You see, these the people in the back offices don't understand the magnitude of these rap beefs. They don't understand how many lives get impacted by it, and they do need to be called to the table and to address this in a real different kind of way. They have to change. It has to change. You know, we could count the number of lives that has been lost. You know, when you go to, but also parents need to play an active role in checking their children's heart.
Well, it's all of us. It's everybody. It's everybody.
No, but listen to what I'm saying. They got to check their house. You got to check the book bags. You got to check under the mattress. You got to check the bushes in the backyard. You got to see who's coming over. You got to be an active participant in this child on a day-to-day basis. And it just doesn't matter because a lot of things, you know, you're working, you're at home, you're not there, and a lot of stuff happens that you don't have the ability because you got to work 3 and 4 jobs to try to maintain what's going on in your house. And so we got to, and as you said, we got to come together. So like there's sites all over New York City, there's sites all over the country that are doing this work on the front line. Join us. Text Fund Peace to 51555. We'll put you at a site in your city or in your neighborhood and help us help these children see a bright future. You know,
Erica Ford, we love you. Life Camp.
We love you too.
Look up Life Camp. Look up Erica Ford, and let's keep having this convo, right? Like and even for us, you know, we was going out every week in the Peace Mobile and pulling up in different communities, and we stopped that obviously because of the pandemic. So as you pointed out, there's a lot of activities that have been stopped that left probably a void in some in communities, and we gotta get that back too. Thank you, Erica.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Ebro in the morning with Laura Stiles and Rosenberg. That's that.